Good morning. Sunday morning.
I know. I can't have an opinion because
You're a white male!
I'm wondering, if an adult can identify as a baby, a man can identify as a woman, vice versa, or whatever, then I'm going to identify as
Wayne Brady!
In all seriousness, it's easy to call someone racist. It's a lot harder to debate the content of their ideas. I want to preface this video with a bit about my background. I've lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the majority of my life and only recently escaped to the country. You may have heard of Tulsa from the 2021 news of it being the 100th anniversary since the Tulsa race riot/massacre, or maybe from Trump's 2020 rally that happened to take place on Juneteenth. Everyone knows about the Emancipation Proclamation, but that was the first time I had ever heard about it being celebrated as a holiday, and a quick search shows so to say that the scheduling of the event was some kind of racist gesture is really a stretch. There was a black-owned after-hours club I used to frequent and almost always had a great time there. But just as an example, in 2017, I went with some friends wearing a Trump shirt and was told by some guy, "You've got a lot of balls for wearing that shirt in here," more respectfully than threatening. But then one of the girls hanging out said, "If my homies were here, they'd stomp you out." Political violence. Congratulations. Living in Tulsa, I've experienced peaceful interracial community and love more than I ever have racism, flames of which seem to have only been given new life by the media, as I detail in this video. In March of 2019, I began a brief career in law enforcement working as a detention officer at David L. Moss, the Tulsa County Jail. And around the time of the George Floyd protests/riots in 2020, I was a part of what is essentially their riot squad. I had a friend out shouting "Black Lives Matter" and yelling at pigs for dispersing crowds while I was on call at the jail, keeping inmates calm and supporting deputies who got to watch protesters yell and bang on the jail entrance. I remember hanging out with that friend later and hearing their girlfriend say, "They are literally killing us," when statistically a black man in America is more likely to be killed by another black man than a police officer. I've been listening to Alex Jones since high school and have always been skeptical of the media, from 9/11 to COVID-19, so don't assume I'm biased towards law enforcement. I had aspirations of setting a good example for officers in the wake of protests against police brutality, and have always stood against government corruption and abuse. I've lost friends over my support of Trump and even more during the height of BLM activism, and that is one of the many reasons I feel the need in my soul to make this video. We are all humans, and we all bleed red blood. If you want to hear more about my experience as a detention officer, feel free to check out my Patreon, where I'll be offering exclusive content to my supporters. In this video, I use clips from the Louder with Crowder show and Candace Owens' documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. If you want to watch the full documentary, you can get access to it by signing up to the Dailywire. Let's begin. Alex Jones was not only banned from every social media platform, he was also recently sued for a gajillion fulfillion dollars for questioning a school shooting. Now Kanye West, or Ye, is in the exact same crosshairs as Alex for alleged anti-Semitic statements. Now George Floyd's daughter, surely spurred on by leftist lawyers and BLM activists, is suing him for merely stating the information revealed in Candace Owens' documentary, much of which we'll go over in this video. Steven Crowder sums it up well.
The family of George Floyd is preparing to file a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West.
It comes after the rapper, who now legally goes by the name Ye, said in a podcast that Floyd died from a fentanyl overdose and not from suffocation after having a police officer's knee on his neck for more than 9 minutes.
Okay, so that's them telling it. I think we have a clip from what Ye, I keep wanting to say Ye, actually said. Here you go.
Watch the George Floyd documentary that Candace Owens put up. One of the things that his two roommates said was,
why is he yelling?
They want a tall guy like me.
I don't think
they want a tall guy like me. Hit him with the fentanyl. If you look, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. When he said mama is his girlfriend. They said he screamed for his mama. Mama was his girlfriend. It's in the documentary. The Free George Floyd zone that they made, the murder rate is up 50% since George Floyd. It's mayhem. It's Mad Max.
Okay. So the suit claims that his comments are detrimental, quote, to George Floyd's daughter and as the sole beneficiary of his estate. That's why they're claiming these damages. This is after, again, all references available at louderwithcrowder.com. Yeezy, Kanye, paid $2 million towards George Floyd's family for his daughter's tuition. So again, this does matter. You may not like what he said. You may not like how he said it. But this tells you where the guy's spirit is. Even though he disagrees with the media narrative, $2 million to the daughter at that point because his heart went out to her. When do we get to the point where we start judging people based on their actions more than their words? We can't, because we have to judge them on skin color. We have to judge them on gender. We have to judge them on political affiliation. We have to judge them based on not only their own gender, but where they line up on the other countless /52 it just changed to 74 genders. $2 million to the family. And by the way, everything that he just said is accurate.
And I'm going to cover all of it in this video. George Floyd's family made a lot of media appearances while being supported by celebrities and politicians, but were never seen or heard of by his roommates that lived with him for at least 4 years leading up to his death. And after, they never even bothered to collect his things or see where he lived.
to meet with the president and the vice president and for them to show their concern to our family and for them to actually give an ear to our concerns and how we feel on the situation.
I have to be strong because that's what he would want me to do.
I ain't never met a sister. I ain't never met a brother. None of them ever came here. And Floyd been living in this house. We've been in this house going on 6 years, am I right?
Yeah. But for the 4 years, no. He just...
They never wanted his stuff. I mean, I would think that if my son,
they didn't even come and look and see where the man lived at. They never came to see where Floyd lived. They never came and get none of his stuff. Nothing.
That was my oldest brother. I love him. I'm never going to get my brother back.
I would like to just, like, say one day, this meet his daughter, because it's like, that's an extension of him.
Right.
And I just to be proud to just see one time.
Like his former roommate just said, he never even got to meet Floyd's daughter. Kanye West said it was explained in the documentary that when Floyd called out for his mama, he was in fact calling out for his girlfriend. This is what he was talking about.
Okay, this is super interesting because he's saying mama again, and obviously I know that throughout the trial his girlfriend testified that he calls her mama, and the media made such a big deal saying that when he died he cried out for his mama, and they clearly misinterpreted that because this is a 2019 arrest. He's once again saying I want mama, so that seems pretty clear that he's talking about his girlfriend. And he's not crying out for his mother, which was a nice victim narrative.
You and Floyd, Mr. Floyd, excuse me, I'm assuming like most couples had pet names for each other?
Yeah.
And what were you saved in his phone as?
Mama.
Back to his roommates. They elaborate on how they met him and who he was, saying he was a friendly, religious person who had his issues but kept them on the street.
I first met him in 2017. We ended up knowing each other. He was in a treatment center, and I actually was there too, but I was there for the alcohol, and he was having problems with the pain pills. So, and these are our co-workers. We both work together at the Conga Lounge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that's Floyd right here. And they never forgot him because he was a people person. He socialized, and the kids was always, looking up like, wow, the guy's pretty tall. Floyd's about 6'7".
I'm 6'1". How many people do you know that are over 6.5 feet tall?
He said, I do whatever the police tells me to do. Yeah. He said, because they looking to kill a big brother like me.
Yeah.
He said that out of his own words. He said, because a big end like me, he said, they looking to kill a big brother like me. And sure enough, that's what happened.
It was kind of
like
when that happened.
Weeks and stuff later,
that was one of his
fears. Yep, that was one of his fears.
That's interesting, though.
He know that they was intimidated by him because he was so big.
And I'm sure that officer probably know who he is that ran his lights. They got it in the computer.
The Floyd that I knew in this house was a good person. And if he did do something bad, he hid it from us. He didn't do it around us. If he did it out there, he did it out there. That's his business. It's not mine.
Addiction is hard.
Yes.
It's full stop hard.
Right.
But family is different. It's a different part of them, and so the struggles that they're maybe facing out on the street is just not something that they ever want to bring to their doormat,
And that was Floyd. I mean, if he did have addiction out there, he left it in the streets. He never brought it home.
Candace Owens digs into his criminal record, and having worked at a county jail, including video court duties, handling lots of paperwork and police reports, I've seen worse for sure, but I've also seen a lot better.
In 1998, he spent 10 months in prison for theft with a firearm. In 2002, he spent 8 months in prison for a cocaine offense. In 2004, just 2 years later, he spent another 10 months in prison for a cocaine offense.
I'm not saying that having a criminal record is an excuse for police brutality, and it will be argued, if not proven, that a knee on the neck was not the cause of death, but it should be a factor if we're going to idolize him as a role model or even worship him as a saint. Here's Dave Chappelle's opinion on if George Floyd's actions in life should be taken into account.
I don't care what this did. I don't care if he personally kicked Candace Owens in her stinky pussy.
I like the point Candace makes here that seems to respond well to Dave.
Two things can be true at once. You can both say that George Floyd didn't deserve to die, no matter how you believe he died. Nobody deserves to die, in my opinion. And you can also say that objectively, this person that did die was not a saint.
Vivek Ramaswamy was the CEO of a biotech company in Silicon Valley during the rise of BLM and noticed an odd trend.
There was a pledge of allegiance to one cause, to turn this man, who had died in a tragic death, no doubt, into some type of new modern messiah figure. And I thought that the religious quality of every company bending the knee was a bit odd.
Pastor Dr. Charles Karuku walked Candace Owens through the free state of Floyd, an autonomous zone set around the square where Floyd died, allowed to flourish by the city of Minnesota, resulting in a 58% increase in murder and the highest number of homicides in over 20 years.
This is pretty much the body
of
George Floyd. This is where he lay dead and breathed his last right here.
Right. And so the idea is that no one should enter. This is sort of a sacred place. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can see this. It's pretty much a holy ground. We have better people to follow. Of course, Jesus Christ, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who have lived their lives and epitomized what we would like to emulate.
Real quick, I want to show you what happened during the Free State of George Floyd riots from Dr. Karuku's perspective.
What we saw was like a venting of anger. It was complete opposite of Minnesota nice. And we saw anger, mayhem, looting, destruction of property, burning of police precincts, and it was completely foreign to me. I'm used to something like this in third world countries, but not in America, and quite honestly, not in Minnesota.
In the era of defund the police, you really have to admire those who continue to serve in law enforcement. The media is just waiting for you to slip so they can nail you up as the poster child for white supremacy and police brutality. Here are some words from his mother and coworkers.
Derek is a quiet, thoughtful, honorable, and selfless man. He has a big heart, and he always has put others before his own.
He was kind of a guy that was a little more of a loner. You know, some probably would have considered him socially awkward.
You've described him as quirky, and somebody else kind of described him in that same way. What do you mean by that?
Kind of quiet, introverted. Sometimes he wears his uniform pants a little high on his boots. Just that way. You know,
maybe not the quarterback of the football team.
Not the quarterback of the football team.
Okay. Did he ever have any issues with other police officers? Was there ever any signs that he was particularly violent or had issues with people because of their skin color?
No, never. No, that is not the Derek I knew. And I don't believe what people are saying. It's made up. It's not true.
I know what you're saying. A quiet, socially awkward guy? He fits the psychological profile and must obviously be a closet racist. I myself have grown up introverted and nerdy, and I've had to force myself out of my comfort zone to be more outgoing, so I can relate to that. Speaking directly to current law enforcement professionals and those with aspirations, how does it make you feel that while in the course of performing your duties, a still from a camera phone video could be taken out of context and go viral, forcing you to lose your career and even your life? Before we get into the specifics of the arrest, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. Would any of this have ever made the news if Derek Chauvin was a black officer? It all began with George Floyd attempting to purchase tobacco from Cup Foods with a counterfeit $20 bill.
George Floyd was a semi-regular customer. He'd come around not so often, but he was someone we'd recognize, and he'd come here maybe to pay his phone bill or get phone services. When he came in the store, he was with a friend of his. The friend of his was paying for some electronics repair, and all of the money he had was counterfeit. Because we knew the person, we told him, hey, we're not going to call the police, just take this money back and don't bring it back here again. And then a few minutes later, George Floyd made a purchase in the tobacco shop with a counterfeit bill, and the employee then called the police. They arrived about 45 minutes later.
It's a fake bill from the gentleman.
I don't think that's the best way to carry your handgun.
The driver in there?
I approached him.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please. Don't shoot me, man.
Step out and face away.
Can you not shoot me, man?
I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away.
Okay. Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man.
Get out of the car.
I didn't know, Mr. Officer. I didn't know.
Get his other arm.
Hey, you come back. Stay in the car. Stop resisting, man. Stand up. Please, man. Stand up. Why are you doing me like this? Stand up. Come on. We're trying to get out of the street here so you don't get hit by a car. All right, what's your name? George. We're here because it sounds like you gave a fake bill to the individuals in there.
Yeah. Ouchie, man. Are you on something right now?
No, nothing. Because you acting real erratic. Down. Stay up. I hear you, but you are going to face this door right now.
Listen up. Stop.
I don't do anything. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it. Please, man. Please don't do that. Take a seat. I'm going in, Mr. Officer. I'm going in. No, you're not. I'm on the ground.
Get in the squad.
I know I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Take a seat. I can't breathe. Here, come on out. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Well, you got it down, man. Let him breathe, at least, man. I've been trying to hear about you. So you breathe looking man. My homie down here, you back home.
Why don't you die this thing?
Why?
Man, I can't breathe my face. Just get up.
Irrefutably, just a knee on the neck from a 165-pound man would not kill someone in that amount of time. Why? Well, I don't know. Is this worthy of a lawsuit? I did it.
Well, now
Look,
definitely
for
will.
people watching, I'm not
hostile
saying
he
this is
8
pleasant.
minutes in.
I'm asking, would this kill someone?
Somebody can do just fine in this position. It's uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill them, right?
It sucks, obviously.
No. What I will actually go further than that. My, I do grappling, and my father, who's a brown belt, it's far more uncomfortable for me to be under side control for him. I would not be able to maintain that for 9 minutes. And by the way, I have been talking this whole time, and in case people wonder, I talk really fast, and I have a heart condition.
Yeah.
It's a chest condition where my bone grows into my heart. I have to get surgery in July. The point is,
sounds like Alf.
The point is that this is probably more difficult for me than it is for a lot of you out there watching. But I also don't have 4 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in my system.
That's
and
true.
again, I'm just laying down because this is more comfortable.
Okay, I didn't hear, Seek. I couldn't hear you back then. I didn't realize that you said I sounded like Alf.
Well, you did.
Oh, I guess I shouldn't have taken that speedball.
Dr. Ron Martinelli is a forensic criminologist and crime scene investigator. He brings a lot of experience to the table and I believe valuable insight into the role drugs played in George Floyd's death.
We have the whole issue of the police encounter and the basal metabolic rate rising. Think about him being agitated, chaotic, excited, and his heart is pumping. There is zero empirical forensic evidence, medical evidence of any biological mechanism, physiological mechanism that would have interfered with George Floyd's ability to get sufficient oxygenated blood up into the brain. There's zero evidence of that.
From the perspective of Miss Frazier's camera, it appears that Officer Chauvin's knee is on the neck of Mr. Floyd.
Yes.
Would you agree that from the perspective of Officer King's body camera, it appears that Officer Chauvin's knee was more on Mr. Floyd's shoulder blade?
Yes.
They had to have the jury believe that it was a neck restraint, it was the knee on the neck, it was asphyxiation that killed George Floyd. However, there was a ton of evidence that George Floyd consumed a toxic, lethal cocktail of fentanyl and methamphetamine.
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, "I ate too many drugs"?
Yes, it did.
Let's put it in perspective. 3 grains of fentanyl on the head of a lead pencil, enough to kill you, enough to kill me.
Do you recall describing the level of fentanyl as a fatal level of fentanyl?
I recall describing it in other circumstances. It would be a fatal level, yes, in other circumstances. Had Mr. Floyd been home alone in his locked residence with no evidence of trauma, and the only autopsy finding was that fentanyl level, then yes, I would certify his death as due to fentanyl toxicity.
There was another passenger in the vehicle, and that passenger was Mr. Floyd's drug dealer. However, he did not end up providing helpful testimony because of his own criminal liability.
Okay, and why would you not answer those?
I'm fearful of criminal charges going forward. I have open charges that's not settled yet of my personal stuff.
So basically you are invoking your Fifth Amendment right against compelled self-incrimination?
Yes, sir.
After seeing all that, and knowing how much of an epidemic the lethal drug fentanyl has become, I tend to agree with Candace Owens' conclusion.
It is a story of a man who overdosed in the end.
Outside this grocery store is now home for a memorial.
We protest peacefully. We're kind of just helping each other out and rallying together as a community.
We need to stand together with each other.
We're here to serve justice for injustice.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say it again. Say his name.
George Floyd.
Breaking news in South Minneapolis. The situation has become dangerous.
Individual breaching the gate at the 3rd precinct.
Getting close to blocking the fence. Is anyone copying this?
We all here. All lives matter.
You want more people to die? You coward!
3rd precinct has been compromised.
They're about to breach the back gate. They're taking heavy rock.
3rd precinct is up in flames.
Minneapolis is waking up to a lot of its buildings on fire.
You saw chaos just erupt.
Fires are still burning.
We are seeing looting throughout the city.
Bricks are being thrown at police officers. We are seeing increasing violence amongst protesters throughout the country.
Cities are erupting into chaos and violence.
How long can you be peaceful when your people are dying?
We're out here trying to show them that we're angry.
This is not just about George Floyd. It's about everything that's happened in our world.
We've got to get more confrontational, make sure that they know that we mean business.
I want to see the charge of the arresting officer take place. We are not talking about a split-second decision that was made incorrectly. I can't see coming to a different answer there. Thank you.
Real quickly, have you seen the body camera footage yourself?
No, I have not yet.
I just want to thank the prosecutors. I just want to thank God, the DNA, everybody. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And I hope every killer cop is watching and paying attention, because today the Black Lives Matter movement served notice on you.
Liz Collin was a news reporter that lost her job due to BLM outrage over her marriage to Bob Kroll, who is on the Minneapolis Police Board. Democrat, obviously, House Representative John Thompson led a protest in their driveway bashing piñatas in their likeness. Just watch.
John Thompson did with a stick.
In our driveway. This is the man running to be a state representative in Minnesota.
In your driveway.
Overwhelmingly elected.
Bob Crow and anybody who support his racist ass. Bob Crow, I said it.
Fraser Ross owns retail stores in California that are frequented by celebrities. Here's what happened to his store and how celebrities like whoever Chrissy Teigen is reacted.
We were looted for over $400,000 worth of merchandise. Then she said, well, let me up it to another 100,000. Now, when you have approximately 30 million followers at the time, you can start a movement and people say, oh, well, she's going to bail me out and everything. And then, you know, you've got celebrities like Jennifer Garner giving 4 hearts to that post. Well, they all live in gated communities and it's not their stuff being destroyed.
Exactly. Even Wikipedia admits the damage caused by the riots was between $1 to $2 billion nationally, the highest recorded damage from civil disorder in U.S. history. Floyd's roommate and Dr. Karuku give their perspective on how his name was used to make money.
They use it as what you say, a way of funding whatever they
motivation was. And then at sometimes when I went to the George Floyd Memorial, it was different individuals going around there saying donations for this, for Floyd, for this. And
yeah.
You didn't know where they was coming from. You got a little metal box, and I don't know who you are. Where is this going?
When Black Lives Matter announced that they raised over $90 million, who knows how much over, on the back of the George Floyd riots and the sprees, where is that money?
I don't know. It's not here. Everything looks worse than it was.
Is it possible that Black America was sort of used as a front, and the emotions that Black America was feeling was used as a front, and this money went probably maybe not to Black people at all, anywhere in the world?
So many elements of people who took advantage of the death of George Floyd to stir up the emotions for political gain, for financial gain, and to propagate division, because some of these organizations that raise money, they can only get money if they propagate hatred.
I want to start this section off by saying that Candace Owens did more for George Floyd than BLM ever did.
We shared this place, right? And we went half on everything, the rent, light, gas. So when it happened to Floyd, everything fell back on me and Alvin. So
you got a car out there, it's just sitting there.
And
we couldn't do nothing with it because he didn't. We don't have the title. They won't take it or move it.
They never received any financial support from BLM, and Candace literally paid off a year of his back rent and for a towing service to have his abandoned vehicle removed. That's some pretty good trolling right there. All right, let's follow the money.
A person who was effectively working for BLM that personally purchased a mansion, and she pays $3 million for it. Within days, I think it's 48 hours later, flips that to the BLM organization, who pays nearly $6 million for that same house, booking a personal profit to the person who actually bought it. So that's a self-dealing transaction that enriches personally somebody who's working for Black Lives Matter. Why is BLM buying big, lavish mansions in the first place?
Candace explains that Patrice threw many parties at the mansion bought with BLM money, including...
She also threw a party there to celebrate the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And yeah, that's somewhat suspicious, because what do Democrats have to do with Black Lives Matter?
Into the taxes.
I wanted to jump right into it and find out exactly what happened to the approximate $80 million that was raised by them between July 1st of 2020 and June 30th, 2021. Patrice Cullors' brother, Paul Cullors, is a graffiti artist by trade. That's what he's done his entire life. He's done graffiti. Patrice instead hired her brother to do security for her. She paid Paul $840,000. That's almost $1 million in just 1 year to her graffiti artist brother, his newly established security firm. Patrice also gave funding from Black Lives Matter to take care of the man who fathered her son. His name is Damon Turner, and he received $970,000 from BLM to his company Trap Heels LLC, which purportedly provided live production and media. Black Lives Matter designated a whopping $8 million to an out-of-country grant, $8 million to Toronto, Canada, to an organization named M4BJ. They purchased a $6.3 million, 10,000 square foot downtown property in Toronto. And I should also mention that M4BJ is run by Patrice's wife, Janaya Khan.
Janaya Khan identifies as gender non-conforming, which Candace explains as...
Janaya used to look like this, and now she looks like this.
Candace then details a string of donations to the lesbian, gay, bi, trans, questioning plus community totaling $2.6 million.
A closer look, you'll see that they actually dispersed that funding to organizations that were in care of Black Lives Matter. This means that actually another organization is accepting the donation on behalf of BLM. So I decided to investigate that further, and I noticed a really bizarre pattern.
Essentially, the majority of these organizations train activists. Attempting to reach out to them, Candace was only able to reach one of them by phone. They admitted to training, supporting, and bailing out activists. If that's for nonviolent protests, then sure. But how often are people arrested for nonviolently protesting? You have to admit that overall it's pretty sketchy. Because most of these organizations are not up to date on their tax filings, it was hard to track down the owners of them. However, Candace was able to track down the owner of the Living Through Giving Foundation that received $2.3 million from BLM.
AJ Reeland, listed as the executive director. AJ owns 3 coffee shops in California.
Doing some digging, Candace found a picture in an article mentioning Patrisse Cullors in one of AJ's coffee shops back in 2019. Surely she didn't give her old friend $2.3 million to create a website with no upcoming events.
They invested $32 million into the stock market. Wall Street. What a great way to abolish the system of white supremacy. If you were an individual who gave to this organization, a well-meaning individual who gave because you thought it was going to help Black America, then you should get answers to those questions.
I cannot agree with Candace more here. Do you remember how House Rep John Thompson was outside of a couple's house leading a protest to beat them in effigy and cursing their name? Keep that in mind while watching Patrisse Cullors' reaction to Candace wanting to talk to her outside her gated home in a majorly white community.
Hello? Hi, you're welcome to record. I just want to talk. Are you instructed not to speak to anybody? We're not trying to harass you. We'll gladly leave. We're just wondering if we can speak to anybody.
I woke up to Candace Owens being outside of my house with a news crew. She was demanding that I come outside. It's unacceptable and it's dangerous that anybody, any stranger, come outside of my house. What happened this morning is not safety. It's not what I deserve. It's not what any of us deserve. And so they're literally trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy me. They're trying to destroy the movement. And I just need us to be stronger.
Ah, the victim card. How original. After getting called out by Candace online, Patrisse went on to wipe her Instagram.
What I'm hoping is that by the end of this, they'll wipe the entire organization in charity.
Candace sums it up rather well with something I've believed since high school. The media is the enemy.
The media is your enemy. That is what I will say. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart after examining every corner of this case. The media scared the jury. The media scared even politicians into agreeing in lockstep. There's no other way to examine the media but to recognize that they were the enemy. And they're not going to stop being the enemy.
I can only imagine a world where people did not instantly accept the narrative of the mainstream news or their social media feed, and instead held or observed critical debates over the issues that would otherwise be used to divide and control us. It's not in the interest of the elite to have a united America, so instead of getting mad over the latest thing, let's just treat everyone like we would want to be treated, and if someone disrespects you, deal with it on an individual basis. Thanks for watching. God bless.
So again, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. For being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. I can't breathe. But because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice. And now we have to make sure justice prevails in the sentencing. But that's, it's its own procedure.